It's TEDA time.
Living in Terrebonne, living in Terrebonne. You sure won't want to miss it, and I'll bet that you'll revisit living in Terrebonne.
Local Terrebonne Parish economic news.
Welcome to TEDA Time. I'm your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it very much. And you know, we get excited about TEDA Time as well, because we know when we have TEDA Time, we have Mr. Cohen B. Guidry joining us. Cohen, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me back.
All right, we appreciate it very much. Got a couple of special people here with us today. You always seem to bring the people that you'll have such great partnerships with who are doing such great work. So thanks for bringing on some people who are really getting the mission done, if you will, right?
This is certainly something near and dear to my heart and the residents that they have helped in Terrebonne Parish. It's my pleasure to be able to share them with everybody out there.
Very good. We got Ms. Joyce Toops, the Executive Director of Blessed Assurance Missions. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. We appreciate you being here. Sitting next to her is Mr. Duncan Frichet. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Duncan, Director of New Life Missions.
Yes, sir.
I like it. And so, Cohen, tell us a little bit about how these came to be and how you got to partner with these wonderful people.
Well, I came to work for TEDA in June of 2022,
Right.
And I had a punch list of things that we had to get accomplished. And we had a generous donation after Hurricane Ida through a colleague of the president of our board, and it was little over $1 million worth of flooring, hospital grade flooring that the gentleman that he donated. And it wound up being stored in New Life Missions. So one of them was go get a warehouse, let's rent space and distribute it here in Terrebonne Parish. So I looked at the logistics part of it, the economics part of it, and I got in touch with Duncan, and I said, is there any way we could possibly work out something to store it there, and as we need it, going back and forth? So he said, well, I really don't have a solid point of contact for that region, but I think you could be my contact. And I said, well, I've got a full-time job, but let's. So I went up, drove up to see his place in Independence.
Right.
Spent the day with him in his ginormous warehouse. We both sweated, a lot that
Enormously.
day. And we got to know each other. And we built a rapport from that point. And I said, Duncan, I can't be your only point of contact, but I assure you we will have somebody on each bayou that will be a local person that will be responsible for the items that you send down or they go up and get. So we started working, and we had Bayou du Large and we had Dulac covered. And then the good Lord sent us an angel with Miss Joyce, because they have a camp in Cocodrie.
Oh, my.
And then they started taking care of, so they've got Cocodrie, Montague, and Pontchartrain. So we had all the bayous covered, and the work just started.
It's kind of interesting, when you figure out how things work out, right? The hand is 5.
Yep.
And we've got the 5 fingers that are our bayou system that leaves Houma. And when you can bring those things to totality, it's almost as if it's meant to be that way, right?
Absolutely.
And so I love the fact that we did that. Mr. Duncan, tell me about that first experience. So Cohen tells us about how that worked. Tell us your impression of how that started with Cohen. And listen, most of us feel the same way about him, so it's okay. You can let us know. Tell us about that day.
It was very good. It was great that he was to come over and see the warehouse.
Right.
And once you see the warehouse, like Cohen's saying, you see the possibilities and everything that was going on there. And like you said, we had a great day. We figured out as the flooring kept coming in, we were figuring out ways to get it in, store it. Then they would contact us different ways, and we would send the flooring out as we could. Sometimes 18-wheeler, sometimes Joyce and them, other people that would show up. Is how we started getting it out of the warehouse.
Trailers as needed.
Yes,
right?
sir.
Those kinds of things. Well, and again, to be able to have that, what a blessing to be able to have that donation of those things. But there's the coordination of what to do with it. Go ahead.
Well, it became much more than just flooring, because Duncan had access to all these other materials. So it grew from just flooring to building supplies, to things like that. And I'll let him kind of give you a description of those things. But it was phenomenal, the supplies that got pumped into Terrebonne Parish from that warehouse and Independence that these guys run.
Yeah. And tell us where it's located. So let's talk a little bit about that, because we talk about it in our area. It's like, oh, right there in Independence, but tell us where that is.
Yeah, we're on Pine Street, 123 South Pine Street in Independence.
Right.
And which is great because we right off 51, but the interstate is only, just so not far at all.
55 is right there.
Right there.
Yeah.
Which is great because a lot of the trucks that came in with supplies come from the north. And so they come right down 55. And so we're the warehouse, we have 3 loading docks, 2 forklifts. And so we're able to move a lot of stuff. But yeah, that's we're right in town.
Well, and again, being centrally located, having somebody who can get what you need from any direction, right? It's kind of interesting. A lot of that stuff came from the north, needed to be shipped out to the south. And so that just kind of makes that great linkage, if you will, right there. And Cohen and I talk about partnerships almost every time we do TEDA Time. We talk about partnerships, and this is obviously one that makes a great difference. And so we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, Ms. Joyce, we'd like to hear a little bit about your story, a little bit about what great work you do, and then we want to keep moving forward with what the need is that we want to kind of get help from other people. So I thank you all for being here. I appreciate it very much. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. And so, guys, you don't go anywhere either. We'll be right back right here on TEDA Time. Don't go anywhere.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health Systems, modern technology, and timeless caring. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of TEDA Time. Again, your host, Keith Whiteside. Very glad to be joined by Mr. Duncan, Ms. Joyce, and of course, Mr. Cohen. And so, Cohen, again, we talk about it all the time, but partnerships matter. Partnerships really matter when you are able to find and connect with people that are making a huge difference. Let's talk about that huge difference that these groups do here.
You are absolutely right. Every show we bring on a guest or we talk about the partnerships that we're working with. And it's amazing to me that these folks have probably touched more people in these in Terrebonne Parish and the 5 Bayou communities in their works and their efforts to help rebuild and get things in here. They've probably touched more people than any other partnership combined.
Wow.
It's
That's a mouthful.
It is.
Because you guys have partnerships with so many different industries.
We do.
And to make that kind of statement says that a lot of work is being done because of the help that we get from other places and help right here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Ms. Joyce, tell us a little bit about your story, of course, as the executive director of the Blessed Assurance Mission. Tell us a little bit about how long you've been involved, why you're involved, and the kind of work that y'all do.
We have a camp in Cocodrie, and it was virtually destroyed. So when we started coming down here, we could see the destruction. It was unbelievable. So we formed a relationship with Duncan. He provided us with supplies. So we made blessing bags just to hand out to people on the side of the road, like the utility workers.
Okay, blessing bags, water,
Granola bars.
a little food, right?
Yes.
Okay, so sweet. You were going to pass over that, like, oh, we just did this. Well, those little things went a long way.
Did. And we had Gatorade and Powerade and all that we would hand out to them cold.
Wow.
So they really did. There was some appreciation there. And a lot of the homeowners had not come back. But so we set up in somebody's vacant yard, and we did food, hot food that we got in from a place on the North Shore, because that's where we're from.
Okay.
And we got all of our supplies from Duncan. So we would fill up plates and drive through the community passing out food.
So this is not where you say, oh, by the way, we've got some cold water and we've got some cold Gatorade and Powerade and some snack bars here. Y'all were out passing them out.
If it had not been for Duncan, we wouldn't be doing this.
Again, talking about great partnerships, right?
Right.
And the opportunity. And so one of the things that I love more than anything is that when we were a broken community, immediately after, people like yourselves started saying, not what do we do to help? We're going to help. Let's figure out how. It wasn't a question of if. It was about how do we do this the best way? So I go back to the fact that my brother and I were down as quickly as we could be, some 6 or 7 days after, damages to my father's home, damages to my home. And getting food was helpful. Mm-hmm. The fact that y'all passed it out is even more helpful because you're just going to serve others.
We had people who would actually cry because they hadn't had a hot meal in so long.
Yeah.
It was very touching.
Yeah. As my response is, we went to several churches that I've done work with over the years and just to get something to eat and be able to help people and help my dad's neighbors and help my neighbors and do the work that needed to be done in a broken environment. You guys were a huge blessing. That's a big deal. And y'all just said, hey, our camp's got a great deal of destruction. Let's set up in somebody's yard and help. That's about paying it forward. That's about a great partnership. Let me let you continue.
So we ended up at Montague Fire Station with Toby
Right.
Henry, and they welcomed us with open arms and were so appreciative that we would set up. We were so thankful for them, and they were equally as thankful
Wow.
for us. We would cook on site, set up, tables, and had a line, and we would bring in big box trucks full of supplies.
Wow.
Like cleaning supplies, blankets, whatever, most of the household things that were needed.
Yes, ma'am.
And then we would pack up the car and drive to Pointe-au-Chien and pass out food along the way
From the Montague Fire
from the
Station.
Montague Fire Station. So we went out to the island and passed out food, and it was gut-wrenching to see the devastation because it came in there first.
Yeah, and so listen, to think about, and for me, I'll just tell you the reaction of my home in North Houma, my father's home in East Houma, to be able to go down, because what happens is every mile you go down, you see it more and more destructive. And so I was fortunate enough as a social worker, I'm glad to be able to be part of the recovery process, but I couldn't do anything like what you guys did.
Well,
And y'all went down, packed up whatever you could, and went and delivered it and brought it to people that couldn't go get it.
but their number one, what I would ask them what they needed was building supplies. And at
Okay.
that time, I said, I wish I could. If I
Right.
had it, it'd be here in 18-wheelers. So we partnered with Live Oak Baptist Church in Pointe-au-Chien, and Duncan started getting in furniture for the people that had their homes that needed repair and had lost furniture and mattresses and things like that. We would pack up big U-Haul trucks and bring them down and pass out from Live Oak Baptist Church, plus bring in food to feed people.
Wow.
So
I'm so very glad to hear these kinds of remarkable stories because, for the last 2 years now, you hear bits and pieces. I hadn't heard this part.
oh no, we have been here.
No, I know.
We never left.
I know. What I'm saying is, over the last 2 years, this has been an ongoing mission. And I use that word. But we got to take another short break. I know it's hard to believe, but we got to do that again. So we're going to take another short break. And I appreciate the story very, very much. I appreciate the help more than anything and the vision about the mission. So we're going to take a short break. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back here on TEDA Time.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.
Long-winded about that.
And welcome back to this edition of TEDA Time. Again, your host, Keith Whiteside, joined by Cohen, Miss Joyce, Mr. Duncan. And so, Miss Joyce, we kind of were talking a little bit about all of the efforts and impact that we had. And now let's kind of continue with that as we move forward. Kind of cut you off there. I apologize.
Okay. So I started asking Duncan how we could get building supplies.
Right? Because that was the thing people kept asking you,
That's
right?
what people kept asking for.
Right.
So he just, when I came into the warehouse one day, he said, "You're going to love this." And he's had plywood coming in.
Oh, my goodness.
So we were able to bring down, I can't even tell you how many, he can tell you how many pallets of plywood, finished plywood that came in, and we were able to pass it out to people that were making repairs to their house.
Wow.
So we just finished a house last week that is just beautiful. It was extensively damaged.
Wow.
So.
Wow. So, Mr. Duncan, that partnership, and I know you got to be awfully proud. And the interesting thing to me is how humble you guys are about the work that's being done and how you're doing that. Let's talk about the volume of things that have been coming down and how y'all been able to do that.
Well, the example of the plywood, I think we ended up with 6 18-wheeler loads of
my
plywood.
goodness.
Out of those 6, probably 5 18-wheelers came to Terrebonne in Lafourche Parish.
Wow.
To give you an example. Another example, we had an 18-wheeler load of dryers, new dryers come in, and I think
All of those.
75 or something, a whole truckload
75.
came to Terrebonne in Lafourche Parish.
Wow.
So those are a couple examples of it was 18-wheeler after the furniture was 12 18-wheeler loads.
12
They sent us.
18-wheelers
Yes.
full of furniture.
And the majority of that came down to Terrebonne and Lafourche because of the contacts we had made. Like Cohen's saying, the partnership is so critical because we have areas like in Golden Meadow, we have areas, Lafitte, we have Terrebonne, and the contacts we have, and with y'all, and so that's one of the things. The good thing about it is we start off with supplies.
Right.
Like right now, we putting supplies in the warehouse now that are for the first, right when the storm hits. For
Right.
example, I'll give you a great example. Probably a few days after Ida hit, a representative from Terrebonne Parish contacted our state representative and about sending some supplies. Well, we loaded up an 18-wheeler load of your basic, the toilet paper, the paper towels,
Right.
the water, all these things. And that's what we're preparing again. So Cohen, if something happens, Cohen can just pick up the phone and say, "Hey, Duncan, we need this. And like even yesterday, we got a phone call from one of our partners in Oklahoma. And he said, look, we're fixing to have a conference. We want you to come because we want to load your warehouse up with hurricane supplies.
Wow.
And yes, that's just huge. So we can hold approximately, I guess, going about 25 18-wheelers. Our warehouse
the warehouse.
will
Inside
hold
the
that many
warehouse.
18-wheelers.
25. So you bring up a really good point about partnering with other people. You guys don't get any funding from state or federal.
That's correct.
Y'all rely completely on donations.
That's correct. We're completely on donations. We have a base crew of about 6 awesome people. Their hearts in it 100%.
Right.
And we don't get paid. So none of the money given to us, we don't get paid at all. And we're all volunteers. So that's the awesome part. And so yes, our money, we get donations, but they're enough to keep New Life Missions going.
Right.
Now after with Joyce and them, that really got things going too, and other things. But after we kind of slowed down a little bit, we sat down and we thought, well, wait a minute, we maybe ought to buy this building because
Yes, sir.
we're leasing it.
Right.
And it's such a huge outreach now.
Right.
Even other places, Florida, Texas. We sent some trucks down to Florida after their big hurricane.
Your partnership with Oklahoma. I mean,
Yeah,
all of those
Oklahoma,
things.
Tennessee. We big in Tennessee, so we decided, wait a minute, we need to buy this.
Right.
Try to buy this warehouse, and that's what we're doing because of the fact that we're ready the minute the storm hits.
Right.
We're ready to get the phone call, and we'll load up the 18-wheeler and send it to you. And these people can have the basic needs immediately.
Well, and y'all have done so very much in our community, and I know that our community down here, communities of Terrebonne and Lafourche, are so very thankful. I want people to be able to find a way now that some people are back on their feet. Some people are not. and I know that we're building houses and doing work down here with Miss Joyce and the work that's being done. How can people donate? What can they do to reach out to you to donate? Because this is a shout out. This is to all the people that are listening, of our hundreds of thousands of people that say, you know what, y'all did something for me, let me do something for you. If you want to help kind of find a way to buy this building so that when the next phone call comes from Cohen about help that's needed, they can turn around and say, this building that we own is filled with such and such, we're bringing it down. How can they do that, Mr. Duncan?
Well, you can go, we have a sheet, and I think Cohen's going to.
I'm going to post it on our website
Okay.
as I do with all these. So if
Right.
you go to TEDA.com, there's a QR code on the bottom of the page, and we'll make sure that that's in this viewing.
Right.
Thank you.
There it is right there. If you're look, if you're watching right now, do it right now. I challenge anybody to do it right now. Make a donation. It's a way for you to help New Life Missions. This is a capital campaign for 2023. Go ahead, Coach.
It's completely tax deductible on your donation, and we're trying to help them raise $500,000 to buy a 54,000 square foot warehouse that has blessed this community and provided for this community. Corporate donations are well appreciated, but we've got a short amount of time to be able to raise that much money to help them.
And if you have an extra $500,000, go ahead and do that today. We'll be done. Then you and I need to talk about some other things that we can move and put that forward to. Mr. Duncan, thank you for what you do. Thank you for what New Life Missions does and the value of that. Ms. Joyce as well, thank you so very much. There's a reason why blessed is in the name of your mission, because y'all are blessing other people. Cohen, thanks for bringing these kinds of people in.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it. All right, guys, that'll do it for this edition of TEDA Time. Don't go anywhere. A lot more local programming right here on HTV.